Hi, my name is Mary Beth Wadford, and I'm the Executive Assistant here at Ignite Church. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite stories, the story of Ruth. While yes, I think it's incredibly awesome that she's one of two women in the Bible to have a whole entire book named after them and written about their story, I do think this story can relate to everyone. I challenge you to read the entire book of Ruth. There's only 4 chapters, and it can be found towards the beginning of the New Testament. To very briefly summarize her story, Ruth was a Moabite woman whose husband passed away, as well as his brother and his father. Ruth decided to stay with Naomi, her mother-in-law, and go back to Bethlehem, where Naomi was from. There, she met a man named Boaz. Boaz was very kind to her. He allowed her to glean in his fields. He provided protection and provision for her and Naomi's needs. She ended up marrying Boaz, and they had a son together. There are a few interesting things that stick out to me from this story. Boaz describes Ruth as a woman of noble character. This same phrase is used in the very popular Proverbs 31. Even though Ruth was not of Jewish descent, God set her apart and allowed the horrible circumstances in her life to ultimately draw her closer in relationship with Him. God was orchestrating all along the series of events that led her to the knowledge of the one true God. He was working all things together for good, even though it didn't seem that way at times. It's also interesting to me that Naomi and Ruth went back to Bethlehem, where Naomi was from. We just finished up the Christmas season, and as we all know, Jesus was born in Bethlehem. Ruth and Boaz had a son named Obed. Obed had a son named Jesse, and Jesse was the father of King David. Now, if you're like me, I know it's tempting to skip through all the genealogies in the Bible, but check this out. This was the family line of Jesus. Check out Matthew 1 if you want more information about that. Now I have a couple of questions for you. What chaos is going on in your life that you need Jesus to come and redeem? Jesus is our only hope of redemption in the midst of chaos. Another question for you. What similarities do you see between Boaz being Ruth's guardian redeemer and that of Jesus Christ coming to us to be our redeemer and all of humanity's redeemer? The last question is, what part of the story do you relate to the most? Maybe you're like Ruth and Naomi and you've experienced a deep loss and you're in a season of sadness. Maybe you're like Ruth and you're new to your faith and you're unsure of what's to come. Maybe you're like Naomi and you're allowing the tough situations in your life to point others around you to Jesus. Or maybe you're like Boaz and you're in a season of blessing and you're using those blessings to bless those around you. No matter what you're facing, remember that He's just getting started. Your story isn't over.